home and away. I guess watching on mobile, maybe. How's it going? I got a very special guest tonight, Alan Alford. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for having me on your show. This is truly an honor.
Oh, it's always an honor to have you, man. And I know I respect a lot of your work. Last year, I'll give a little quick introduction of how got to know you. I saw you at the XFL Championship, man, and you were just doing your thing, interviewing, pictures. You were in everything, talking to the Rock. So I really made a point to get to know you and meet you, and then from there we just kind of talked. I'd say we're friends now, man. So it's good to meet you and know you. Appreciate it again.
Oh, same here. We're definitely friends. I'm so glad that we met. It was an awesome day, and many days past that, we're still talking, and I continue success.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we definitely communicate. I'd say I communicate with you more than almost anyone else in this whole span of things. So you're appreciated. XFL Mike G's my guy as well. But when it comes to the actual media, I guess getting some feedback, you're the man. So appreciate you, dude.
Oh, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. Anytime you need anything, just let me know. I think just like the UFL, it's open door policy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For sure. So I know you well. I don't know if some of the listeners may know you well. So if you could, man, just kind of tell a little bit more about you, your show, and what you do for your show. And I'm gonna show some of your social media stuff in the background while you talk.
No, absolutely. I'm the host of the Allen Alford Sports Talk Show, and I cover sports anywhere from the UFL, the XFL. It's always been a lot of fun. The show has been around for just about 4 years now, and getting a chance to do what I love, meeting people like yourself, Matthew, and going out and talking to athletes, celebrities, and just everyday folks. I don't just do, athletes too, do authors as well. And so any inspiring story that's positive, I'm willing to learn about it and meet people and talk about it. So I cover the UFL, as you can see there. And back a year ago, I was with the XFL, the Orlando Guardians. I covered the entire year of this XFL Orlando Guardians. And then now it's been the Arlington Renegades for the UFL. There's no team now in Tampa, Florida, where I'm at, but I still love the UFL. I still love what they're doing in sprint football. So I continue to give them great coverage. So that's what I'm here.
Yes, sir. You do a good job, man. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. Same here. Same here.
I have not looked at your page because I've there's so much going on in the social media world, man. Unless I take a point to see stuff, I don't see it. I feel like, and so last night when I was looking through your page, I was impressed because I haven't seen this stuff, So I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to go back and watch some more of it. I watched some of it last night, but man, you're a busy man, all the way from boxing to football to, I mean, certain authors you have on talking about different books. Man, what can you before we move on and start talking about the games? What got you into all this? Can you tell me that?
I've always been a guy that's been into sports. Baseball was a sport that I actually played and really love, but I've always kept an eye out for other sports, meaning I always love football too. I love other sports that were out there. And just the sports arena is something that I feel comfortable in, talking, with friends, I grew up with guys that love sports too. So that was always a great thing. And since I always had a passion for meeting people in sports, I was like, you know what? I should have my own sports show. And we started with the Alan and Aaron Sports Talk show. And then eventually it became my show. Aaron became real busy and I just continued forward. And it's been a real blessing. I really think back 4 years when we started and where we're at now. And it's just, I'm in awe of the amount of people I've met and connections. And it really just starts from meeting one person to another. That's just networking.
Yes, sir.
And that's what it's all about.
Yep, yep. Just being yourself, being authentic, not chasing a story. You're chasing information and individuals. So I think that's really what I noticed as well. Even like when you're in person doing things, nobody really did it like you, man. So and I don't just say that nonchalant. Like I was like, man, who is this guy? Who is this guy doing his thing? And sure enough, I'm glad I met you, man. Like I said.
Same here. Same here. You're right. I'm not a clout chaser. I chase information, learning and meeting people's story. And I think that will take care of itself. There's been throughout the 4 years some things that have actually happened that if I did spread may have put people in some compromising positions, but I'm not about that.
Yep.
It's a positive energy.
Yep. The rumor mill will churn hard.
Yeah.
And even
And that's
like
what I admire
last
about
time.
you is that you're kind of like me in a way. You like to have facts behind what you're saying. You don't just like to throw out rumors and just to get clicks. I'm not about that at all. If I don't know or heard from a credible source, then I'm not going to put it out there.
Respect that, man. And that's how I am as well. If I can't do enough research to know that this is legitimate or this is how this works or this is how this is going to work, then I'm definitely going to have something to not say about that.
Yeah.
So I feel that. And not, like last time you came on the show, I know we were still talking about all the merger rumors.
Yeah.
That I had people calling my phone mad because of the information you shared from that show.
Yeah. And that was honest information. That was a credible source. I know that people didn't like the information that was portrayed, and I didn't make it as clear as I should have. That was on me. Was going to be some teams that were going to be eliminated, and I should have made it more clear. But if you look at the information, it was actually better than what I thought. I thought it was going to be 10 teams. It actually ended up being 8 teams.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I know people was disappointed, but I thought that when the UFL merged, it was going to be 10 teams. It actually only being 8, 4 and 4. I said during the time 5 from the XFL, 5 from the USFL. It ended up being actually 4 and 4.
Yeah, and at that time we were still being fed it's going to be mostly USFL teams rumor and very little XFL. So it took you had to take a little stance there, but I liked it, man, because you stood on your word and then come out ahead of it, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the other rumors and things that were said.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And what I heard was from a credible source. It was somebody and people that I trust. It wasn't just throwing out rumors. So I had vetted it myself, and I was like, this is credible. And it ended up being just off by 2 teams. It was they got rid of the Sea Dragons and another USFL team, and it ended up being 8. So it actually was less than I thought. Yeah. People was mad because it was just 10, 5 and 5, and it ended up being less than I thought. 8, 4 and 4.
It's crazy how it all worked out, for sure.
Yeah. Nobody
saw the Houston Gamble Necks coming. I don't think. Yeah. Nobody really knew that was going to happen.
That one did surprise me. I didn't know that. And the other teams were pretty much about what I expected. And when it became official, I actually was a sense of relief for me. Like, even though it was only 4 and 4, at least the rumors were no longer circling anymore. At least we knew exactly what it was, and we could just move on.
Yep. We were all ready for that, man. At least the people that cover this thing and do stuff, because even me personally, I didn't want to switch my brand or change my podcast name or do any of that stuff, but was kind of forced to through everything, which is cool. We come out ahead as well, but woo. Anywho, how you enjoying this new UFL, man? How's it going for you so far?
It was a rough start in the beginning. I'm going to be frank with you, because I still wanted to keep the connection with the ownership of, from then the XFL to the UFL. In the beginning, I've said it on my show, and I'm just going to say it here, that I felt as if the UFL in the beginning did not really want smaller media really covering them. I got that feeling from them. And in the beginning, it was kind of hard to get information, hard to get anything from them. They were kept it tight. I think as the season went on, they loosened up a bit, and it went from a rough start to outstanding. It's been an outstanding season at this point. In the beginning, it was a rough start, but it's been well received this year, and actually remarkable considering that I'm covering the Arlington Renegades, a team that's not even in my city or in my state.
A little far from home, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to fly in, I guess, but you're somewhere close to Orlando, correct?
Yeah, I'm closer to Tampa,
Gotcha.
so I can go. I could fly out of Orlando. It's a little bit further drive for me, but it's not out of the realm. It would be an hour and a half type of drive versus 35, 40 minutes from Tampa. But
Understood.
I could go either way. I have taken flights out of Orlando, so I'm familiar with the airport. Some international flights go out of Orlando more so than Tampa. So I do have that option. But yes, if I want to go to a game, I have to fly out. There's no game in my state. So I want people to know that hey, if you're going to support the league, it may not be as convenient, but if I could do it, you guys could do it too.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I've only been to 2 games this season because of the same reason. And I mean, I'm right there with you on a lot of the things you said. The smaller media stuff, I definitely feel that as well. But I felt, it's once they saw who is who and who was authentic and who was really here to do the good Lord's work is what I call it. Things loosened up. I requested a few interviews there at the beginning of the season. I didn't get them, so I just kind of quit trying on the interview, on that whole thing. You could always go to those press conferences, but oftentimes I'm busy during the day when they have them, so I can't make it to those specifically. Since like the season's actually started. But yeah, I feel you on everything, and this is a shared opinion amongst a lot of us, and we talk. A lot of us talk that we're not. I don't know. That's what I was saying. When the communication is, there's probably 5 to 10 different personalities that I've spoken with or can call and speak with and about matters as such like this, and really find out what's going on. And if it's 5 to 10 people saying the same thing, it's a true statement. So I understand.
Yeah, definitely the communication. I was like, man, I just covered the XFL last year. You don't know me. I did the championship game. It was like I got to
Me
start
too.
all over again. It kind of felt that way, but we went through that stage, and I'm glad that I persevered through it, because some people would have just
Same.
said, you know what, forget about the UFL. Let me just move on, and I just stuck with it. I felt like a player, trying to get that opportunity, and I stuck with it. I persevered, and things, lo and behold, turned out wonderful. I mean, this season's been going fantastic. I definitely wish the Arlington Renegades were still in contention. They're not, but it's been outstanding outside of that.
Yeah, I agree. I've enjoyed it, and the TV presence this year I feel like is much better than last year. I'm really enjoying the Fox presentation, the way they interact and do bits and talk, and to me, I have fun with it. Now, in terms of in person, I just haven't had the funds to be doing all the traveling and running the website, the podcast, yada yada. So I've kind of scaled my stuff back to do more social for now. But I will be in Birmingham for the UFL or USFL conference champ. So looking forward to that game.
That's gonna be great. That's gonna be fantastic. And that's the exciting thing about the UFL. It's not over yet. Meaning, the Birmingham is not a guarantee. I know they're looking extremely strong, but I've seen with my own eyes when the 2 times actually, when the Orlando Guardians stripped the DC Defenders of their unblemished record, and that's the only game they won was against the DC Defenders, who were undefeated. And then lo and behold, the DC Defenders didn't win the championship because they lost against the Arlington Renegades. So as strong as teams are, it's not over till it's over.
Agreed, man. Any given Sunday, seriously, or Saturday, I guess you can say. I totally agree with you, though. The way this goes is we kind of know who the top dogs are now, but that doesn't mean they're going to win that championship game. And these teams are facing each other multiple times, so that always adds a different dynamic to what's going on, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that just like, in the NFL, if you face a team already once, you know that they've seen what you have. They're going to come up with different schemes. It's going to be tougher for you to beat that same team a second time around. So it's not over for those 4 teams that are in the playoffs. Birmingham looks strong, real strong, but it's any given Sunday, like you said. And to me, it's not the best team wins. It's a team that plays the best at the time wins more than anything.
Yep. And some of that home field advantage may make a difference as well.
I agree.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
let's go ahead and jump into the games from week 8. And we're going to review them slightly. Now, I'll tell you guys, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm not going to spend as much time doing my pieces tonight that I'll do normally. So me and Alan are going to review the first couple games, and then we'll bring Brian in for the St. Louis game, and then we'll bring XFLMike G and RJ in for that last San Antonio game. So let's go ahead and break it off, Alan. And
Sure.
this one to me was a pretty good game. And I'll say before we start, every game this week was decided by one score at least. I mean, so it was a good week in terms of actual play. Some of these games you thought were going to get just like some of these teams you thought were going to get blew away, but it ended up being pretty good, and I enjoyed it. The Memphis Showboats took on the Michigan Panthers in Michigan. They went down 18-24. Michigan came out swinging, man, there at the beginning, and so did Memphis. But Memphis kind of fell off very quickly, and there at the end, this game was a close one. The thing about it is Memphis is known to make this late game rally or try to hold up for a late game rally, and typically they don't push through to get it. So Devin Gray was really good on the ground for Michigan. 84 receiving yards, including a 50-yard touchdown for a score there at the end of the game. Matt Colburn was another one that was really good for Michigan. Now, Wes Hills went down, so he will be out for the season, actually, is what it's being reported. So no more Wes Hills for this season. We'll have to see him next year. But Matt Colburn went with 93 yards on the ground and 2 scores on 24 attempts. So that was pretty good from him as well. He kind of just sprung up, did better than his game last week. Michigan had the 2 QB system. Both Lewerke and Perkins looked decent. Perkins added a whole nother layer to that Michigan offense that I felt like they needed. And it almost looked like EJ Perry out there running, but not as EJ Perry-ish.
Yeah.
Perkins added 55 yards on the ground. Together, they combined for 183 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, we know the thing about Michigan. We know how they roll. We know what they're doing. What I want to talk about right now is Memphis. Memphis is looking rough right now, and in my opinion, probably one of the worst teams in the league in terms of offense. I don't think this is due to skill. I think this is due to offensive line and just not protecting their quarterback. Case Cook has started that game for Memphis, and he hooked up with Dawood Davis right at the beginning for a big 65-yard touchdown. I mean, really nice, beautiful play. And I thought, dude, this is the game for them. But as we know, it didn't go too well. Cookus was sacked multiple times. One of the sacks, he suffered from a rib injury. Josh Love came in. Josh Love did pretty good. I was impressed by Love coming in and taking over. 9 for 12 for 56 yards and 1 score. Thing about Memphis is they give up the sacks, man. So Michigan had 4 sacks against Memphis, which that's very on par for Memphis each game. I'm not sure the average per game, but it's high considering they have a season high of 20 sacks so far this season, which is crazy. And you see why Case Cookus is hurt.
Yes.
The Showboats fell to 1-7, and that about wraps it up for them. We know they're eliminated from any kind of playoff contention. So basically, we'll have to just see what they're going to build on and do for next year. But what about you? What do you think about this, man? I mean, did you watch this game?
I did watch the game. You're right. They had that start off the game big. I mean, the running back for Michigan was doing fantastic. And that's the thing about the Showboats that's really surprising. I would have to say the Showboats have overall been the team that I kind of expected a bit more from. And in terms of fan support, attendance.
Agreed.
I'm really surprised because they're not really a new team. And it's been surprising. But yeah, they start off pretty good and they just go with this lull. And then I feel like the last minute or two, they want to play real hard.
Yep.
You know, you can't play football like that. You have to play the entire 60 minutes. You can't play solid for the first quarter, maybe the start of the second quarter, then have a long lull. And I felt like the coach wants to really play the last 2 minutes of the game. Let's do a 4th and 12 where we're down by multiple scores. And I'm like, where was this energy throughout the game?
Yeah. I mean, you can see him on the sidelines. He is He's ready to go, dude.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I think he needs to stop complaining, because I think that's what happens. He complains so much that he tunes out the referees. Because he's like, hey, I remember when he was playing, and I forget who he was playing against, but he was down by like 3 or 4 scores. It could have been the Battlehawks. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. But he was like, I know that we're down by multiple scores, but you don't have to stop refereeing the game. I'm like, come on, man.
I mean, speaking of the Renegades, though, I feel like they're kind of similar in the way they play at the end of the game. Either they're playing to catch up or they're playing to not get beat. It seems like every single game, with the exception of last week's game for Arlington, or 2 weeks ago now, excuse me.
Yeah, I got to give them credit, because that game against the Brahmas, I felt like it could have been easily a blowout, and it wasn't, which to their point, they didn't quit.
Oh, for sure. I enjoyed it. And we'll get to that for sure when we get there. I promise. Because I know the guys I got coming on, they'll have something to say about it for sure. So that's why I kind of like the dynamic. I know that's your team. Let's talk about the attendance numbers and the TV viewing averages. So 9,300 roughly in attendance in Ford Field in Michigan. We had about 673,000 average TV viewers on Fox. Now, this wasn't a low game for the week. This is actually one of the high numbers. I think it's the second highest for this week, if I remember correctly. The TV number here is promising, in my opinion. And if every game can maintain this, it would be good. But we see already from other games this week that we're kind of dipping down. And I expect this dip to keep going, considering teams are starting to kind of fall off the wagon. People are going to quit caring as much. You already got so many other things going: baseball, NBA, hockey, family activities. There's a lot of stuff going right now. So we can probably expect these numbers to dip down until we hit that championship or that conference championship level again. What do you think about the data here?
Yeah, you're right. I agree. I felt that's one of the tough things about spring football. And note this, I have to make sure the audience knows that, hey, Tom Brady was in attendance at this game.
I wasn't going to do it. You did it.
You know what? We're going to talk about Tom Brady and Arlington Renegades a bit later, but
yep.
Tom Brady, folks, was at this game, which is more of a reason why you need to show up, because you never know. I was honest. I said that several times when I posted it up on social media. That's the cool thing about the UFL. You never know who's going to show up. You have to keep your eyes open. Could be Tom Brady, could be Deion Sanders, Troy Aikman, The Rock. You never know. But yes, that's actually not bad. I mean, that's one of the difficult challenges with spring football, especially with the later start with the UFL versus the way they did with the XFL, is right now, with all due respect, you're competing with the NHL playoffs. Yep. You're competing with the NBA playoffs. You're competing with, even WNBA fans. You're competing with golf. And then the weather's getting nice.
Yeah.
So you're competing with so many different challenges. For them to have 9,370 in attendance in Michigan is actually pretty good. And I'm encouraged by the viewership. To me, that's the big thing. They have to really kind of build off of the fact that people are watching the games, maybe not showing up as much, but that's not kind of surprising. Keep getting that average of people watching the game. Keep that number high.
Agreed. It seems like, and we'll go ahead and bring up the second game. Let me stop this video. Mm-hmm. It seems like the off network or off big network games always do bad or worse, and we can see that in the most part. Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about the Houston Roughnecks at Birmingham Stallions. This was actually a surprisingly good game. It went down to the wire. Birmingham took it 35-28. But man, Houston had every opportunity to pull this win off. And I was disappointed that it did not happen, honestly. Did I expect it to happen? No. But did I want it to happen? Yes.
You want to see that perfect record go out the window.
I mean, not only that, it's just always good to see a team rally and figure their identity out, figure out how to play football, and get a win against a unbeatable team. This is the Giants you're facing here with the
Yeah.
Stallions, and they are the Giants of the UFL. They're on the stat
Yeah.
boards all the way across. They're first almost. They're killing it. Adrian Martinez is a beast. That man
Yeah.
cannot be touched. And to me, probably MVP for this year. Just
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as great as Luis Perez has been playing, as great as AJ McCarron's been playing, you have to give it to Adrian Martinez. There is no,
Yep.
to me, it's a slam dunk as far as I'm concerned. He didn't miss a game. He's been the catalyst. He's playing on the best team. He's been very productive. It's not like he's not doing the work and everybody else is. He's been making those plays and making great decisions. And I got to give Birmingham Stallions a lot of credit because I felt as if they were a very good team. They're actually better than I anticipated. They're actually extremely solid from top to bottom, coached.
Agreed.
Very, very good. They're well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I didn't know much about it personally, and because I didn't watch the USFL, and coming into it, I'm very impressed as well. And that's a team, man. That's a
Oh,
culture
yeah.
of a team, and people can complain and moan about how they win, but I mean, that's men at work doing their thing. You can't hate on them.
Can't hate. You know, you got to win these games, and a lot of people don't understand that winning, sometimes having success, is sometimes more difficult than having a failure, because now you might get complacent. You might like, okay, I don't need to practice hard. You might start feeling yourself. There's so many challenges that come when you are successful, versus not having any success, that are not easy to deal with.
Yep. That adversity really shows you who you are and how you can perform when it doesn't matter. Are you gonna perform when it doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't prepare too much on this game because KJ was going to be on, but he had something come up. I don't have much to say about this game in terms of stats. I didn't collect a whole lot of stuff. I didn't have time. All I know is that it came down to the wire. Houston could have won this game. I mean, they had the chance there that last drive, and this is a repeated story for this Houston team. And to me, it comes down to being undisciplined in certain aspects. They're not a bad team. They're just undisciplined. A lot of people are pointing fingers at coaching, saying, hey, we need new coaches, new GM, blah, blah, blah. I mean, give these guys a chance, man. This is year one. They didn't know what they were doing coming in. Now, year two, if this happens, totally agree with those statements. But right now, we got to chill on it and just let them build a little bit. Nolan Henderson did pretty good for Houston as well. Really gave that offense a kind of different look that they didn't have before. Let me get to his stats.
Yeah, it was a great game. It really was. And that's the difference between teams that win a lot and teams that lose a lot. It's not that it's mountains difference, but they just made the mental mistakes. That penalty to give the Stallions a first down when they were going to kick the ball, that was a killer, because you don't want to give a team as great as the Stallions a second opportunity. And if you do, it's not a recipe for success. And that's what happened with the Roughnecks. They made some mental errors, and that's what cost them the game.
Yeah. And they actually had a decent game on the ground. It wasn't too bad. Mark Thompson had 11 attempts for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns, 37-yard long play. TJ Pletcher, he also had 11 attempts, but for 39 yards and no scores. But, I mean, that wasn't a bad game against that Birmingham defense.
Yeah,
opinion.
It was. And I got to give the teams that are, that's one thing I got to give the Showboats as well as the Roughnecks and the Arlington Renegades, that even though they're out of contention, the players understand that they still are playing for an opportunity. If you're not, there's still film on you. So you don't want to slack off and not play hard. You want to treat it as if you're in contention when you're not. And that's how these teams played. I got to give them credit, because you're right. The Roughnecks, they did everything they could to try to win, but the better team won.
Yes, sir. Agreed. And let me review at least Martinez stats real quick.
Yeah.
I know he threw a pick. I don't think he's threw a pick in a very long time. I can't remember the stat on it. I didn't have time to look it up. But he went 19 for 31, 173 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 44 yards, and that's what 2 of his touchdowns came from as well. man, that guy's a
Yeah.
beast, man. I hope he makes it to an NFL squad next year. I really do. I feel like he's deserving of it.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And I feel as if out of the quarterback class, even though I know that he's not the league leader in passing, I would be hard pressed that a team wouldn't be interested in him. He's making great decisions. He's mobile. He's got the ingredients that an NFL quarterback is looking for. And I really do hope he gets that opportunity because he's definitely earned it.
Agreed. 100%. Let's go to some comments before we roll on to the numbers. XFL Mike G said I was pulling for Houston. Me too, man. I was on my feet watching this game, standing up. I could not believe that they hung in it, honestly.
All the XFL guys, they want their team to win. You know, I was indifferent in this game. I was a great game on both sides. You know, I just think that it was hard. It was a tall task for me to expect the Houston Roughnecks to beat the Stallions.
Yeah.
I just feel like that was a tall task. Not that I would have been shocked, but yeah, you're talking about the best coach team in the league, and also the way that they do business. It's amazing that they're not as cocky of a team as they most teams would be at this point.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Rock Renegade said, I'd say Stallions are leaders, not Giants. Giants are a bad team in the Meadowlands. Yeah, I was meaning more figuratively Giants, like big towering men. But yeah, I get that, I guess. We don't try to pull too much NFL talk in here unless we're talking about where the players are going.
Yeah, the Stallions are doing their thing. It's not over yet, but they're definitely throughout the whole season have been very steady as the top contender in this league. They're definitely going to be the favorites.
Yeah, agreed. And the last comment before we roll into the numbers, XFLMike G, coaches will also look at your body language and how you deal with adversity.
Absolutely. You could tell a lot about a person when they deal with things when things are going poorly, and you also could tell how they deal with things when things are going well. You, as a player, I would just forget about the fact, like these players have been doing, that you're out of playoff contention. Look like, hey, because you have 675,000 plus people watching you. You never know who's watching. So you got to show your best effort, treat it as if you're in contention to win, play hard, and play smart. That's the biggest thing about football players. It's controlled aggression. You got to play smart football.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, don't go out there and hurt yourself, to make one play. You got to survive.
That's right.
It's got to happen. Mark Nelson said maybe the Stallions don't actually want to go through the regular season unbeaten. They need to be humble going into the playoffs. And I'm curious coming up this week if they'll rest some of their starters. I would, knowing what's coming, but I don't know. We'll see.
You know what? The way that I would normally agree with that statement, but the way that this team is coached, the way they kind of go about their business, I don't think it really would matter as much with this team because I don't find them to be a cocky team. I think a more cocky team, yes, you would probably want them to be humbled a bit. Like, hey, you get the loss. That was one of the biggest mistakes I saw the DC Defenders, and pretty much why I had a great feeling the DC Defenders were not going to win the championship because they came in too cocky. That coverage that we did on Friday before the game really revealed their mindset. And to me, they were way too cocky. They didn't give the Arlington Renegades enough credit, and they were playing hot football towards the end of the year.
Yep. You could tell. I mean, and then after the game as well, that they were not happy, dude. It was not happy sights for anyone there.
Yeah, they were a little too cocky. And I don't find it with this team yet. Can it happen? Sure. But I feel like I like what I'm seeing. They're staying motivated. They're staying hungry. I love the answers they're giving. The fact that they are having, I mean, hey, you can't argue with the teams that they've played to be undefeated. That's remarkable. And yet they still stay humble in every single approach.
Yes, sir. Agreed with that 100%. And that's kind of why I like them, honestly. I'm about that life. And if you can be the champs and act like the champs, do your thing. I mean, seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just not going to hate on somebody just because they're successful and they're getting success. you have to give me a reason not to like you, and they haven't. They haven't.
Yeah, I mean, they've got it going on right now. They're number one in passing yards, I believe. Let me see. Let me pull this up. I don't want to say it without talking. Yeah, so they're number one in passing yards right now for the regular season, as well as rushing yards per game, which that's no surprise with Martinez and the running backs.
Yeah, they got a great team, a well-balanced team too. And their defense is stellar. You know, any slip up they have, the biggest thing to me is if they do get it to the championship, that crowd noise, I believe, is going to be the X factor.
Oh yeah, yeah. In St. Louis, it's going to be another level. Now, I had people complain about my ads now, and I'm going to tell you, I tried to download these videos from the UFL, like straight up, and I had them last week, and they would not work with the system setup. So we're watching on YouTube, and it's unfortunate that YouTube has an ad that has 25 ads for a 25-minute video. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I guess we'll wrap this one up. It's been a long season for those Roughnecks. Hopefully they can bring it together next year and really make some improvements for this team in general.
Yeah, they seem like, I don't feel like they're 1 and now 8 team. Is that right? 1 and 7. I'm sorry.
1 and 7, yeah.
I don't feel like they're a 1 and 7 team. They play really well. It's just those mental mistakes. When I say mental mistakes, I mean you cannot just get a personal foul just to get a personal foul. Like taking a cheap shot with somebody who's going out of bounds near crunch time and just give them 15 yards. You just can't do those things. It hurts the team.
Yeah, and it builds. Doing it a couple times is one thing, but when people can see that undisciplined aspect, keep stacking, it gives a lot of stuff for people to talk about and complain about as well.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. Let's talk about the numbers real quick. Now, we had 10,245 in attendance. It's a pretty good game down there in Birmingham. It's really unfortunate they can't pull more fans, though. Being the great team they are, the football atmosphere and everything about it, and the fact that they've been there for 2 years, I'm just surprised that they can't get more people out. That just don't understand. As well, these TV numbers were terrible, and we knew coming in basically the best team playing one of the worst. Most people did not care about this game, so it was 254,000 average TV viewers on ESPN2. This is the lowest game we've had so far in the UFL, and I've said so far, as long as we don't dip under that 500,000 mark, we're probably all right. Well, this is a little concerning, this number, and judging from this number, we're probably going to see a couple more of these in the next couple of weeks leading up to the playoffs and championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, because if you're a Stallion fan, you pretty much wrote off the Roughnecks' chance of winning.
100%.
You pretty much wrote them off. So it didn't surprise me that the attendance was kind of weak for this game. I love watching the game. People missed out on a very competitive game. But yeah, you're looking at it on paper. We're the back-to-back champs. We're playing hot. You're playing against the Houston Roughnecks, who hasn't had a really good record at all outside of playing them. 1 win. I think fans just kind of like, I'll watch something else. And that's an opportunity for you to watch something else when you have these type of situations where you have the best team playing statistically the worst team, and it's a situation where it was a later game too. So I think this is probably the time where people will watch that NHL playoff game. They might watch the basketball game, but I think it is a little disappointing which is surprising, that the USFL, the Stallions, don't draw better because they're winning. And I know they had the guys with no shirt on. That's the new thing they're doing. But you got to support your team. This is a new dynamic too. It's the UFL, the XFL versus the USFL. So it is surprising that they're not drawing a bit better, at least on TV, because they play some great football.
Agreed, man. And if I was in Birmingham, I'd be at every game. If I was closer, they're about 5 hours for me. Either way it goes for me. Almost every game is at least 5 hours or more. So,
yeah.
But yeah, another thing about the attendance though is it is hot as hell in Alabama right now. It's tough, and unless you're a true fan, you're not going to sit out in this heat unless you really love this stuff.
And speaking of that, I wanted to get your opinion on that. There is a strong rumor, which from multiple sources, that the league might be playing Friday night games starting next season. Are you for or against the Friday night games?
Personally, I would like to see maybe some different programming options like that, but I would also like to see more night games on the weekend. It seems like, a lot of these games have been back to back, and I'm understanding of the schedule. I haven't complained. I haven't said anything, but those 6 and 7 o'clock games, those really can go a long way with people at home watching as well, in my opinion. And even me, a UFL fan, it's hard for me to sit there Saturday and Sunday and watch 6 hours, 7 hours straight worth of football. So I would be for it, of course. And I hope that does happen as well. But we also don't want a rerun of last year with like the Seattle game that started at 10 p.m. Central.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't remember the exact time. It was late my way. It was an hour or two earlier their way. But man, I remember that game didn't end till 2 a.m. I remember for fact because we started the XFL After Dark hashtag. So I would be for it, but definitely in due diligence. Don't get crazy with it like the Seattle games.
Yeah, I mean that is a strong rumor. I've heard it from multiple sources, but I would be okay with it. One of the games that I kind of don't like this as far as the schedule is the 11 and 12 o'clock Saturday games. I just think for football that is kind of early. I mean,
Agreed.
if you have a kid that's playing football, that's usually the time they play. But I think I would think a Friday night game might actually draw better in the right market. Than a Saturday 11 or 12 o'clock game, their time too.
Yeah. I didn't even consider the 11s. Yeah, that is a little too early. 12 is pushing it, and 11 is. It depends on where you're at. A place like DC to be at a game that started at 11 o'clock. Man, you got to get up and get rolling early. And you got a family. It changes the game when you're dragging the wife and kids with you everywhere and having to. I mean, it's your job as a father if that's what you're doing. So I mean, it's a little different than just single old me going to a game and having fun. But I'll tell you that I know like people that for AFN that signed up that were with us there at the beginning of the year. They haven't had any time to go to any, and these are season ticket holders as well. They haven't had any time to go to any games because of child sporting events, coaching in their own lives, jobs, because of exactly what you said. The games start too early for him. This guy's specifically a DC guy. Last I heard, he has not been able to attend any of the games with his season tickets because the times conflict with his lacrosse schedule for his son. So we haven't seen much of him, and that's totally understandable, man. I mean, you got to do real life.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's UFL game or seeing your son playing lacrosse. Yeah, that's a tough position to be in. So I can understand it. The scheduling thing is the tricky part when you have spring football. It even said here spring football on Friday nights in the fall.
Yeah, we got comments too. Let me see. This one's from Rock Renegade. Folks, that Fox schedule clearly says fall. Let's be logical. Then spring football be in the fall? 80s USFL failed when trying to compete with the NFL. Yeah, I agree. That schedule was almost just a sampler. It was sticking something in there, but at least they're considering it. I feel like at least, but yeah, if you look at what they're talking about, and I don't have it pulled up because I didn't plan on getting into it. Honestly, it says the fall and spring programming in quotations beside it or in it. So I get you guys and I feel you, but I don't know. We're going to have to try some different things with this league to make it a success. You're not going to be able to just keep doing the same old stuff for years to come. But
I agree. And I think most people need to not really think about the NFL versus the UFL. The NFL is the king. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. It's been around for a long time. This is spring league that's trying to get off the feet. You have 32 billionaires at the NFL. You have to look at it for what it is. We want this product to stay. We got to support it. and we have to be flexible.
Agreed. And Mike said noon and nighttime if they're playing outside. Yeah, I agree with that because I know the USFL conference championship games at 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Central. It's going to be hot. I'm going to dress preparingly because it's going to be pretty toasty that day, no doubt. Right now, it's about 90 with the humidity down here. You get used to it, but it's going to keep getting worse as the season goes on. And then Rock Renegade said, let's hope they have standard times with season 2. Let's have logical expectations. Agreed.
I agree. Yeah.
Keep it standard.
This is the first year of the UFL. You have to have realistic expectations. They're trying to get their feet wet. They're trying to figure this out. It's a merged league too. Even Danny Garcia said it when I was at the Arlington Renegades game 1. She said at first the most difficult thing was the fighting between the XFL and USFL. That was monotonous. You just got to deal with it as it comes, and you have to be flexible with this league because it's survival. They have to figure these things out.
Yeah, agreed with you. I'm going to do 2 more comments and we'll roll on to the next game series. Mark Nelson says start the season after the Super Bowl, less heat. Yeah, I mean, I was all for that the way it was last year with the XFL. I thoroughly enjoyed that, every bit of it. This year, we were just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'd be cool with me. And I know it would probably catch the interest of a lot of people as well, coming off the NFL for sure. And then I want to go back up. Go ahead, though. I'm sorry.
I love the start 2 weeks after the Super Bowl with the way the XFL had it. I did love that. I agree with you, and I agree with Mark that lull a month and a half later, it felt like a long time, and I felt like now you're putting yourself in contention against a lot of other things. I wonder if that would have affected the attendance more or the viewership or both.
Yeah, it's curious to know. And if we knew a lot about kind of the USFL side, their numbers from when they played those 2 years, I think we'd get a better understanding of that. But without the data, it's kind of hard to do that research ourselves. Curious to see what they change up, though, next year, because obviously that means they want something better and something different.
Yeah.
Brian said right here, he said ESPN 2 is rough. And we were talking about the TV. I mean, the 254,000 that watched the game. Some people are really enjoying this ESPN broadcast, ABC broadcast. And then some people are enjoying the Fox. I mean, it's all about what you like and your matter of opinion. The comments I'm hearing about ESPN is it's almost all about betting, and individuals do not like that. The constant betting, over and unders, money line, Kayla bet on this. And so that's the complaints I'm hearing. Is one on your side? Are you hearing anything? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I understand the betting is part of it, but yes, they make sure they let you know about betting the odds, and they go about it over and over and over again. I'm not a bettor. I'm not a gambler. I definitely just think that I respect their betting, but it's not something that I would really enjoy to hear all the time. They make sure you know about it. I get it, but I'm not a big time gambler. So I just, to me, it's they don't have to push it as much as they do, but obviously the market calls for it. So it is what it is. What about you?
Personally, I don't mind it. I feel like if it's going to gauge more interest and get more money involved in this thing, then I'm cool with it. It's, to me, the different in the productions really comes down to Fox. I feel like is a little more interactive with players and knowing who is where and who did what, and other than their colleges and like their names. I feel like a lot of what ESPN talks about is where they played college or the former whatever from wherever. And I feel like Fox really gets into it a little more, but that's me personally. And I don't judge anybody for liking the other one as well. It is what it is. But I said it when we come in, I was like, man, I really enjoy this Fox broadcast compared to last year. Right when it started week 1, I'm a Fox guy. I mean, you see the big Fox robot roll out. It's time to go, man. It's football. You know what I'm talking about? It's so yeah, I'm right there with you. We got some more comments. Jackie, what's up, Jackie? Jackie's on Horns Forward podcast. Don't know if you've watched that, Alan.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that's the great thing about this UFL community is that you run into a lot of people and that are diehard fans, which is awesome. Brahmas babe, I know she's out there watching.
The Brahma babe, yeah, she is. Mark Sanchez, Brahma Bulletin said Mark Sanchez is tough to listen to.
Okay.
I can agree with that as well, RJ, for sure. All right, let's roll into this next game. We'll get out of here. We've been kind of spending some time. Good conversation, though, with you, Alan. That's kind of why I like it, man.
Yeah.
We can really bounce some stuff back and forth. Let's talk about game 3, and then we'll bring our friend Brian in. What's up, Brian? How you doing tonight, man?
How's it going, guys?
Well, how about yourself? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying the conversation. We're talking about Fox and ESPN and all this stuff. Big shout out to Kurt Menefee again. I said that last week. I love the guy, and for no reason, I'm just gonna say, hey, shout out to him. Yeah, it was a good week for Battlehawks fans, and a tough week for Defenders fans. It was it was one of those games where you're watching it and you think that I guess all the momentum in my head was, especially in the first half, was this is an easy game for the Defenders given the situation that we have a backup quarterback. It's not a must win for us, and it was just, from the Battlehawks perspective, it was fun to see the perseverance, but from a Defenders fans perspective, it must have been a tough watch. So.
Yeah. I didn't bet on the Battlehawks to win it, honestly. I said DC just because of what I've seen from McCarron so far and how he has to lead that team straight up. And that's what he's supposed to do. It's not a bad thing. But yeah, so the Battlehawks took it home 26-21. This was actually a decent close game as well, and it did not look like it there for a bit. Basically, we saw this Battlehawks defense just step up and really do work for this team. And that offense, I mean, it was a system offense that was ran correctly and allowed to get that win. I was impressed with it, and it showed the different capacities of this Battlehawk squad.
Yeah, and I thought this was sort of odd when you go back and look at the stat line. But, the Battlehawks didn't score until 8 minutes left in the second half, or in the second quarter. And the odd thing that I saw, and I didn't realize because I was at this game, I didn't realize it until afterwards, but no receivers caught a pass in this game.
Wow.
No receivers caught a pass. And there was a total of 9 receptions in the game. So the system was very much designed for a running quarterback. And let's just get in and get out. Let's, get a win and do some easy things, just some check off passes. Let's run when we see an opening. And it was very much a tight knit offensive scheme where it was, you're throwing to tight ends and you're throwing to running backs, and then you're running it if you can, if you're Manny Wilkins. So it was just an interesting game. It didn't seem that way from a fan's perspective in the stands. Like, it did not seem like what I just described. It felt much faster pace. It
looked like it.
Yeah, it felt. Their wide receivers were targeted, but none of them caught passes, and that was partially because Wilkins was a little rusty. But this is his first start in 6 years, so that he hasn't started a game in 6 years. So since college, so I thought he did great with this situation, and the play callers did as well for the Battlehawks.
I'm impressed with it, man, and I'll tell you the team there they're stepping up to be who they're supposed to be there in St. Louis. They're really taking that identity and running with it, and to be without AJ McCarron, Ja'Cour Pearson, Marcellus Aitman, there's so many different pieces there. I think Hakeem Butler even was kind of banged up. He went down, got hurt. To be able to pull that off through that, I was super impressed, and look forward to watching them in this championship for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
cash that ticket, baby, because they're coming.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know,
I
to
guess.
me,
Sorry, 1 second. I did make a mistake. Hakeem Butler made some receptions. I should have said no other wide receiver made receptions in this game. It was Hakeem Butler and then the 2 tight ends, and then running backs. But still, like, you think you'd mix it up with a little bit more people. But
I mean, from what we've seen with St. Louis, I see what you're saying. Compared to their
Right.
typical play style, there wasn't
Right.
much going on with the passing. I get it, and good thing you went and corrected it because somebody will
Yeah.
say something. So all
Right.
good, but I understand. What were you saying, Alan?
yeah, Hakeem Butler, props to him. He's been balling out the entire
Agreed.
season. How this guy's not in the NFL is just beyond me because he's just an absolute beast out there. And I would say outside of Adrian Martinez, you'd have to, as far as if you took away the quarterback class for a second and looked at who's doing production on the field, Hakeem Butler got to be up there with the MVP. I mean, he's just been sensational. He really has been.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's very fast, but you got to remember how big he is. And
Yeah.
to be as fast as he is and to be that size is impressive. And he's got hands, so.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's done great. But props to the Battlehawks. I did want to say to them, I know that they didn't make it last year. It was kind of a little bit of controversy why they didn't make it, but I'm glad that they did make it. To me, the Battlehawks as well as the Birmingham Stallions have been the 2 top teams this year. It's going to be very interesting to see who hoists that trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And before we go on to the numbers, let's talk about some comments. Jackie said we are going 7 strong to STL. Bulls on tour crew, all 10 games, baby. That's awesome, Jackie. I saw them in Memphis in action that week 2, and man, like I said, they were the loudest people there. Seriously. I was on the field and I was taking pictures and I didn't know where they were for most of the game. And then I started listening and I just looked towards the people yelling and I found them. They were right there. Easy.
Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. But I got to give Battlehawks credit, man. Their fans, they come out.
Yeah, we do. And it kind of feels like it's just sort of part of our culture now. Like if you go around St. Louis, you will see a lot of Battlehawk stuff out and about. Like if you're going to the store, you'll see it in the stores. You'll see people wearing stuff. You'll see bumper stickers. You'll see billboards. You'll see, I shared something on Twitter a couple months back about like all the different fast food restaurants that have different specials in St. Louis for Battlehawk stuff. And so super big in the community and people are passionate about it. And it's almost like they don't have good baseball right now. So they're sort of leaning on this spring football thing. The Cardinals are struggling right now. And so they're very heavily leaning on that. But yeah, no, it's fun. Mike is always throwing those the battle nuggets. Mike sort of coined that term after he saw that McDonald's special, the Battlehawk special, the 40 nuggets for $5 or whatever it was, or $10.
Man, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do league wide. Imagine if league wide people would have this type of this gumshirt throughout all the cities. Man, the numbers would be up to sky high, the attendance as well as the watching. It's just, I mean, those numbers are super impressive. Props to the Battlehawks, 32,000 on an early game too. This was an earlier game on a Sunday, I believe.
Yep.
And
or it was a Saturday, yeah.
Saturday, yeah. And to have over 1 million people watch it. It was Sunday,
What
yes.
day was it?
It was an early Sunday game. I was like, yeah. That's an incredible early Sunday game to have 32,000 people show up. Plus,
yeah,
that's the thing why I think the Battlehawks are going to be tough to beat, because if they get past the championship, you have to win the championship in St. Louis, and that is going to be an X factor. It's going to be sold out. There'll be 40,000 people screaming. That's something that no team has dealt with except for the Battlehawks.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Especially this season. I mean, basically leading the whole. They're carrying this league in terms of in-person attendance numbers, and even like with the week's TV numbers, they were really good as well. 1.1 million average on ABC, and it said, hold on, I'll pull this article up from Mike Mitchell. Said it peaked at 1.4 million viewers at 2:45, 3 Eastern. Sorry, all these damn ads.
That's still impressive. It was an early Sunday game. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, people be in church at that time, getting out of church, you know.
Yeah,
that's
right.
impressive.
Yep.
Speaking of articles written, I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of Mike Florio, the NFL analyst. He's been writing a lot about the Battlehawks in particular, but UFL in general. And it's just sort of cool to see somebody like that who's a pretty notable media personality that is, taking time to create content around this league. And so I thought that was pretty cool that he was doing that.
It is.
I agree.
I agree. I totally agree.
The more the merrier. And, as long as it's positive stuff and not just all criticism. I mean, criticism's cool in a certain degree, but here's one of my principles in life is if you're going to complain, come up with a solution to solve it. Try to help instead of just negative feedback, conspiracy theory bullshit. Excuse my language. I mean, that's almost what's turned me off of the Facebook as well as Twitter interacting. And because a lot of folks do not just want to have conversations anymore. It's a who's right and who's wrong fest. And that's not the way things are. You're not a football executive and I'm not either. We're just talking.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. And you might bounce off ideas and you might be somewhere in the middle, right? So it's just talking. You're right. Have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. We got Jackie over here just getting in the Battlehawks. We Brahmas eat battle chicken nuggets for lunch. And she said, Brahma burger, Brahma taco, Brahma salsa.
That's a great fan base too. San Antonio, that is a great fan base. I mean, of course, they don't have the numbers like the Battlehawks. That's just hard to deal with. But man, all the teams that are, I would have to say, all the teams that are in the playoffs have earned their spot. I feel as if the 4 best teams are playing in the playoffs, without a doubt. Season long, I would have to say these are the top 4 teams in the league.
Right.
Yeah.
And the defenders were, going into this year, you talked about the sort of chip on their shoulder, the kind of the attitude they had going into the championship or into the playoffs last year. And then going into the season, I think that continued. But, they lost, Abram Smith right away to the injury. They lost their top 2 wide receivers from last year. It was, and you could tell the coaching doesn't know how to work with, really focusing on the quarterback leading, Ta'amu's good, but he really thrives when he has the talent around him. Like if he doesn't have that talent, he throws picks left and right. He's not a, he kind of struggles. So I feel like it's a conglomeration of all those things, bad offensive line, the offensive play calling, but it's rough. And, everybody was kind of disappointed with this team this year. And I think that they'll probably be making some changes. And I would argue they should probably think about maybe a new quarterback. And they probably will. I don't know if Tom is going to return, especially next year, but it's just disappointing. I'm sure as for Defenders fans and even, for the team and the coaching staff, there was probably a lot of really high expectations going into this year. And this was just sort of a little anecdote to this whole season. This past game is just sort of a microcosm of what they're experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, 89 rush yards on the day. And I'm right there with you that they need to have something else going. And we saw the multiple dimensions of that team last year, and it worked correctly. Mm-hmm. Abram Smith was a beast, but without that beast, it's a whole nother animal, this offensive team.
Yeah, absolutely. The defense was stronger. And the only thing I would Nick a little bit about Reggie Barlow. He's very, very good coach. But I do think in this UFL league, you have to be a little bit more aggressive. I feel as if he relies on the punt a little too much versus going for a short 4th and 1, 4th and 2. You got to be aggressive in this league because the whole thing, you have to be more offensive minded because you have the 4th and 12, you have the 2 and 3 point conversions. You have to, I feel like, be a little bit more aggressive in certain situations.
Yeah. You have that room. You have a little more room there. Whereas in an NFL game, the strategy is played. It's what you know because of how it plays out in the end. Here, 2 minutes left. Two different teams can put up, 14 points apiece if it plays out correctly. It's possible. So that's the difference, and I agree with you. Take advantage. It's just a different game, though. With the league merging, it just changed everything. And who would have known what we'd have saw if we'd have had the regular DC from last year back again? Anyway,
right. Yeah.
Brian, anything else about this game before we move on?
No, and this is just one last thought that is kind of funny. Go back, if any of you have the time, go back and look at the preseason rankings for all the teams, and you're gonna see it's gonna be funny. Like it's gonna have Memphis pretty high. It's gonna obviously have DC pretty high, and a lot of it's sort of flipped on its head. So especially with Michigan performing the way they are, and then San Antonio being so solid too. So. Just if anybody gets a chance, look up preseason rankings for the UFL, and you'll be surprised at what people thought and where we're at this point in the season.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I called the Battlehawks being good. That first game they lost, I was a little taken back and surprised, but they've got the roster, man, and it's almost like the Stallions. You look at that roster, and you're like, how can you lose?
Right.
So,
yeah. And I picked the Brahmas. I knew the Brahmas was going to be a very good team this year. I said that early, especially watching them because they have a solid running game, very good defense. I knew that they were going to be a tough out, and they have stayed true to form. They've earned their spot. These are the top 4 teams, I believe, by far in the league. They just made the right plays, those big plays when they needed it.
Right.
XFLMike G said the Brahmas were disrespected. Revenge tour continued. Let's see. I'm going to hit some more comments up before you leave, Brian. Rock Renegade said, I think AFN ran a poll and San Antonio was 4th. I thought they were going to be good as well, though. Yeah. They were ranked way low everywhere across the board, surprisingly. Right. Eric Stewart, best team last year, blew it in the title game. Ain't been right since. Shields up, baby. Defenders will be back. That's the spirit.
There you go.
Man.
That's the spirit. It's one on the field. If you don't play well and you lose a game, it is what it is. Defenders are a very good team, but they were just a step below some of the better teams, the Brahmas and the Battlehawks. That's just the way what I've witnessed.
Yes, sir. Agreed. All Around Hustle said, and STL built their team to beat them, took all the best defensive players from Vegas and Seattle.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We did. Quinterio Cole this past game had like 7 or 8 tackles.
Wow.
He was from, I think Seattle, and then obviously Pito is from Vegas. And those are 2 huge names for our team right now. And I'm blanking on another guy, one of the linebackers, but we it's just been awesome. It's been a good year. DeMarcus making a good point. This is good for the I guess XFL stock. If you're an XFL, if you're a fan of the XFL, you're probably happy. Both of these playoff teams missed the playoffs last year, and I think that's pretty cool. And that's a good point. Like you're getting a wide variety of experiences, and fans are sort of bought in from last year. Their team didn't do it good as good as they hoped, but then new teams that wanted to do well, that were sort of bought in, are doing better this year. It's a good, good stock for the XFL right now.
Yeah. And it doesn't leave last year was a little questionable, that late season trade, the losing season, comeback, championship win. I mean, it was impressive, but a lot of people were just scratching their heads, especially Battlehawk fans. They were pissed off about that. So
yeah, I was actually glad they made it this year too, because you're right. For weeks on end, we had to hear about that fact that they did not make the playoffs, and I'm like, I get it. You didn't make the playoffs on a technicality, but you did have a chance. Danucci did not beat. Danucci was your problem. You had that game at home. If you beat Danucci, none of that stuff mattered. And that calculation was kind of weird, how you had to have so many more points to make it.
Confused on all that.
And nobody knew the formula. But it seemed to me watching the game that they knew it was going to be the other team making it. But they wanted that suspense.
Yeah. Now we're down. Now we're calculating home field advantage. This is my big thing right now. Is like, what do we need to do? We just need the Battlehawks just need to beat San Antonio week 10, which I'm anticipating. Sorry, Mike G. Sorry, Jackie. But gonna happen.
Brahmas, babe.
We'll see you in St. Louis. I'll be there. I'll bring all my friends. We'll hook up. But tiebreakers should be attendance. Of course it should. We'd be good to go. Every time, every year.
Yeah,
y'all would win everything.
I know, right? It wouldn't be a competition right there. I mean, that's even, just think about it. The DC Defenders are drawing about 15,000. 32,000 plus? That's more than double.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
It's intense, too. I haven't been there in 2 seasons, but when in 2020, woo-wee, it was another level, man.
Right.
Sitting in those stands. Good times. I got the video still. I love to watch them, how loud it is.
Very fun.
So we were talking about the home field advantage. You definitely want this, right, Brian? I mean, you need this. Yeah.
100%. And it is we saw it in a couple weeks ago. Who were we playing? I mean, we're probably playing DC. Or not DC. Who was it? Shoot, I'm gonna blank. It doesn't matter.
You're good.
But you saw it in a couple games where the false starts were becoming an issue. They were doing the silent count, and it was one of those things where, especially having players sub in, you notice that they were kind of thrown off guard. You notice when audibles were being called, players couldn't hear. It's just, the energy is crazy. Every time it's third down, Coach Beck, puts his hands up and everybody goes crazy. It's one of those things where it gives you chills sort of being there. And especially when it's like a third and out, 3 and out type of atmosphere, and it ends on a sack. It's just amazing. Of course we want home field advantage, but I don't know. I mean, it's also, if you look at week 10, Michigan's going to Birmingham, San Antonio's going to St. Louis. That's just going to be a rematch, essentially, if you go into the first round with that same, those same matchups in those same locations. So I don't know how I'd feel about that. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I'm also kind of like, it'd be nice to see us actually prove a point and go to San Antonio and win. But I don't know. I also don't want that to happen. I want to, keep that. I like having games where I can go to them and get excited, and it's a very fun atmosphere. If either of you get a chance to go to St. Louis, and I know Matt, you were there in 2020, but if either of you have gotten a chance or get to go again, let me know and we'll hook you up. We'll get you to our tailgate. We'll find you a place to stay if you want to spend the night, and we'll get you going. So it's very fun to be there.
I tell you, man, approval pending when they finally open the windows up for media. If I get it, I'll be in St. Louis. So I'll let you know for sure. But I don't know. Last year, I didn't hear back until 2 days prior to the championship. And if that happens, I'm not going to go. Right. But if I get a little bit of notice, you can bet you'll see me. I'll be there.
Let's pull some strings.
All the strings. Try not to cut them, huh? Yeah, Mark Nelson, before you roll, he said, "Do they have beer in St. Louis?"
Oh, we do. We don't have the beer snakes, but I'd like to think we're a little bigger than that. We're a little more refined, but no, we do have Anheuser-Busch is located in St. Louis, so that's where the headquarters are. So
the
Busch
Clydesdale.
Stadium, yeah, of course, the Clydesdale.
Okay. Didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. They do a lot of stuff, or they did back in the day. I don't know now, but back in the day they had what is it? Is it Grant's Farm, Brian?
Grant's Farm. I live like 2 minutes away from that. I could walk there if I wanted, but all the Clydesdales there, and
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, very cool.
Time at home, guys. If you go to St. Louis for any of these games, try to check that out because I think it's free with exception to parking too, if I remember correctly.
So the zoo is free. Grant's Farm, you have to pay for parking. Yeah, exactly. The parking at Grant's Farm you have to pay, but you can do a free tour of the Anheuser-Busch factory, and you get free beer at the end. They give you samples of stuff, and you get to see Clydesdales too there. So it's a lot of cool stuff. Awesome. A lot of free stuff in St. Louis, like a lot of free, the zoo, Grant's Farm, the brewery, and so a cool place for people who like to do fun touristy stuff. So
sounds awesome, dude. Awesome, appreciate the tips for real.
Yeah,
that's stuff I forgot about. So because that's stuff I did as a kid or high school era, right. And so now it's cool to think back on some of that. Mark Nelson said he'd be there for sure. He said, I will probably be there even if the UFL doesn't give me a pass. And Mark Nelson's UFL board, if you guys don't know that.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, he runs UFL board. He's the one that created it. And so, yeah. Mark, if you go, let me know as well. I mean, I'm not going to go unless I get that approval. But either way, let me know. We'll get it scheduled and set up and meet up. But, Brian, man, I appreciate the long convo, as always. We will see you again soon. And talk some more Battlehawks, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. You got to say it before you leave. What's the law? Tell them.
Caca!
Take it easy, man. Be good.
Yeah. All right. Take it easy now.
All right. Wrapping it up for the last game of the week. Let's get XFLMike G and RJ in the party. How you doing tonight, fellas?
Doing good, Matthew. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. So we had the Arlington Renegades come visit the San Antonio Brahmas. That game, the Renegades lost 15-20, and honestly, another close game here. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it from here and do your thing, my friend.
All right. Well, from a fan perspective, the game started off. We were cooking with gasoline. There was a lot of consternation, a little bit of wailing and gnashing of teeth about Quentin Dormady being the starting quarterback based on his performance against the Roughnecks. And he came out and he looked really good. There was a couple balls that was a little underthrown. There was more of the wide receivers bailing him out. But other than that, he looked good. He looked comfortable. He was making smart decisions. He was connected with the receivers, and he did not turn the ball over once. And that has been a really bad trend that he's been on these last couple of weeks. He's been turnover prone. So in this game, not one single turnover. And you see right there, the very first possession of the game, boy, did we miss this guy so much. Anthony McFarland severely missed him, and he made his presence known immediately. It was just a little tiny screen, and you see he did the rest. Amazing play. And later in the game, he had another play just like that, throw down the middle of the field, and he took off. And so Quentin Dormady looked good. The offense looked good. And then the half came, and we just kind of, I don't know, looked like we seemed to let off on the gas a little bit. Offense was moving still, but we started getting bogged down. And then Ryan Santoso missed 2 field goals, and he's been like pretty much automatic all year. And he missed 2 field goals. One of them was a chip shot, like a 38-yard field goal. So that was kind of disturbing. But our defense stood tall. They were like a wall, and they really shut down Luis Perez, considering that Luis Perez had that, what was it, 47-point outburst against Memphis last week, and we held them down to basically nothing. And then that amazing 4th and 12 stop in the fourth quarter to seal the game, and on only a 3-man rush. I thought overall the game was really good. I really enjoyed it, and the fans were amazing. The crowd was great, and hey, we're in the playoffs, baby. We are in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. I mean, coming on this journey, are you impressed with this win? I mean, do you feel like it was worthy of hyping up, I guess?
Well, you look at Arlington. Yes, they were a one-win team, but poor Arlington, I have to feel for them. They are this year's Brahmas from last year. I remember last year the Brahmas were just a 3-win team, but we were in every single game and would just either lose at the very end or we would come close to it. And now Arlington's feeling our pain. I mean, they play good. They started off a little shaky, and there was a couple passes that Luis Perez threw that honestly should have been interceptions. One of them, the new guy on review did say that he dropped the ball. He didn't have full control. That should have been interception. And then our defense had a silly holding call that negated another interception. But after that, Arlington really did seem to pick it up. Their defense was stood up. So the game was a lot better than I thought it would be. Personally, I thought it was going to be kind of a blowout, an easy victory, but we can't have easier victories with the Brahmas. They have to stress us out every single game.
That makes sense 100%. Was this Quentin Dormity's redemption game? I guess he did super good. The stats were amazing compared to last week as well. 17 for 25, 320 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yes, sir. Yes,
no
sir.
fumbles as well.
He thought it was
ball security, baby.
Yes, sir. I thought it was a really good game, and I think we have to give credit to where credit is due. Yes, you look at the 320 yards he threw, but 200 of those yards were yak yards. So you take away that because you look at the McFarland first touchdown, it was maybe a 2-yard pass, and the rest of it was all Anthony McFarland. And then the second touchdown to McFarland was maybe like a 10-yard pass, and the rest of it was all him. But not taking away anything from Quentin Dormity. He did what he was supposed to do. He made the smart decisions, and we got to give credit to McFarland and Cody Latimer. The guy was off as well, too. And Cody Latimer had a lot of yak yards as well, too. So they really did help boost Quentin Dormity's stats.
I mean, that's what those two are good at, right?
Yeah.
That's their bread and butter all day. So, I mean, Alan, coming from a Renegade standpoint, I mean, how did you see this game kind of fold out?
I thought, his point is that Anthony McFarland was just a beast. He was just a matchup beast. And it was almost like in the red zone, if the Brahmas would have scored 1 or 2 times before the half, this game would have been a flat-out blowout. It wouldn't have been even competitive. But, what ended up happening was the Arlington Renegades, I give them a lot of credit. They hung in there. They didn't quit. And in the second half, I agree, it felt like the Brahmas took their foot off the gas. And it kept the Arlington Renegades hanging around, and it made it a game towards the end. You didn't know how this is going to play out until that last sack. So it ended up being a very, very good game. Towards the half, I was like, this is going to be a blowout. And it wasn't, because of the fact that their defense stiffened up when it needed to. But credit to the Brahmas and Anthony McFarland. Man, he was just a matchup nightmare. He just was just like to your point that he helped out Quentin Dormity a lot with those yak yards. So did Cody Latimer. And it's just an all-around performance for the Brahmas. And I felt as if coming in this game, it was going to be tough for the Arlington Renegades to win in, San Antonio, and it ended up being true. But it was a great competitive game. The Brahmas deserved to be in the playoffs. They were the team, just like he said, they were the Arlington Renegades last year. So the Arlington Renegades are going through it this year. The right team did win, though.
Agreed. Mike, coming in, I mean, I know you guys, you and RJ are all attending the games as a big group. Tell me, how does this fan atmosphere feel in San Antonio? Sorry.
It's great. It's great to be back in the dome after 3 consecutive road games. And RJ and I attended the Arlington and the Houston game. So it was nice to vibe with the Horns forward guys and learn the chants and, when we're going to be chanting and things of that nature. But purely as a fan enjoying the game, it was nice to see Dormady kind of rebound and get some of his confidence back. There was no interceptions. There was a couple of drop passes, but there was only a couple of them as opposed to 5 or 6 like there was in Houston. So I was looking into the starts that the Brahmas get off and how they respond in the second half. And I found some interesting stats. Now that we've got so many games, we've got a decent sample size. In the first quarter of all their games so far this season, the Brahmas have only given up 16 points. Yes, 16 points in the first quarter. They typically take the ball first. They want to be aggressive and go on the offense and score. The flip side of that is you got to give the ball up to start the second half. In the third quarter, the Brahmas are outscored 30-15. So it's kind of like they want to get in there, be aggressive, get that early lead, and then generally they'll start the third quarter on defense, and that's been a little bit of a lull that we've been talking about for them. But in the fourth quarter, that's where we really shine. We've scored 61 points versus teams so far in the fourth quarter of this season.
Wow. So coming out swinging for that fourth quarter.
Yes, sir.
I remember that Memphis game, man. That's half of those points, correct?
Yeah.
That was a big one, and that was intense, man.
Now, as far as the atmosphere in the Alamo Dome, I will take 10, 12, 13,000 over 32,000 in St. Louis any day. Those guys are passionate. They love the game. They're paying attention, and they're rooting for their teams. They know when to cheer without being told by the coach to cheer. They know when to be quiet, and it's a great atmosphere in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. I remember being there for the championship, and I enjoyed it. Not only the game, the actual city. I mean, so much to do, look at, friendly people. So I enjoy San Antonio. If you guys haven't visited San Antonio yet, people at home, please do, because it's a nice city, nice place to visit.
Yeah, and we actually had some Arlington fans that we met up in Arlington, Los Bandidos, who do some good things. They do some charity work and some fundraising there as well. They were our guests this week for the Battle of Texas, and they were trying to reclaim their hat. If you don't know it, there's a black cowboy hat that's got Brahmas logos, Renegades logos on it, and it says Battle of I-35 on it. And whoever wins that game gets to keep it. So they were here for that, and they got turned away.
So who kept it? Who has the hat right now?
It is in a safe, secure location in its own case. And I kid you not, and I have the picture somewhere. There's a case made up for the hat.
Hey, you got to keep good hats in a box, in a case somewhere. It's like a cowboy hat. It's got to be put up properly. You can't just leave it hanging. So I understand that.
Yeah, that's right. And that was the last time I was at the Alamo Dome, was at the XFL Championship, which was an incredible experience going to the championship game. But yeah, the Brahmas fans, they come out and they're strong. They support their team with the horns. I even saw Brahma Babe out there. So it's awesome. But I'm not surprised. I picked the Brahmas early in this year to be one of the teams to beat. In fact, I even asked Luis Perez, not this game, but when they played him the first time, I said, is the Brahmas the best team in the league? And he said, no, he thought it was the Battlehawks and he thought it was the Stallions. I said, yeah, but the Brahmas are actually a very, very good team. And he did say they are a very good team, but when he actually played them, they ended up being better than he thought. So that's saying a lot. So props to the Brahmas. They go into the playoffs, and well-deserved. Agreed. I got to hit some of these comments real quick before we go over the numbers, because Brian's getting in y'all a little bit. He said, this is what I'll start with. He said, it's great in San Antonio, but I know a better place. And then he said,
does it have better
Battle
food?
Chickens for life. Oh, now that one's a no, definitely. If someone's saying St. Louis has better food than San Antonio, they don't know what they're talking about. I will agree with that 100%. I was never a Texas guy until I started going for these XFL, UFL events, and now I see why you guys love it so much.
Yeah.
Besides the traffic, that's terrible. Mark Nelson said Anthony McFarland is the Week 8 UFL Board Offensive Player of the week as voted by fans, and well deserving for his return
yeah.
because he looked good, man.
Fresh leg. It was just a matchup. In fact, when I talk to Coach tomorrow, and I'm going to ask about that, like how watching it seemed like Anthony McFarland was just like a matchup nightmare. You just could not stop him. He was juking the linebackers. Nobody could bring him down, and he was just fresh legs. It showed. He was balling out.
What we've seen too over the weeks is that Renegades defense gets torched by a good run game. It time and time again, it seems like that's one of their big weaknesses. Now we're talking about San Antonio, and we got to give a little love to Arlington as well.
Oh, yeah.
Sal Cannella looked amazing. So did Luis Perez as well. Sal Cannella, though, he's really shined as one of the best tight ends in terms of numbers for the league this year. And I really didn't expect that coming in. I knew he was a good player, but I'm a Cody Latimer guy through and through. But I mean, Sal is really doing his thing this year, so I'm impressed. What he had 9 receptions for 87 yards and 1 touchdown, 10 targets, 19 yards a catch.
And Latimer had 6 receptions for, I believe it was 118 yards. I might have that confused with McFarland, but it was great it was the return game for us. And by that, I mean the return of Dormady's confidence, the return of Anthony McFarland, and the full return of Cody Latimer. He'd been banged up. And it was, to me, I think the UFL kind of missed an opportunity to honor both Cody Latimer and Sal. And I believe both of them, this is their final season. So they had a tremendous game. They could have hyped up that angle.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things that I could say the same thing as well. And hopefully the more that they see these guys and get interacted with this game, they'll be able to really figure out some of those points. And I know we know that, but that's because we're on this stuff, man. This is our game all day long. So let's get to the numbers now. We had 11,395 in attendance, and it looked pretty busy there in San Antonio compared to other weeks, in my opinion, that from TV at least, and it was loud as well. Now, the TV numbers were a little low here, 545,000 average TV viewers on Fox. Guys, in terms of the attendance, I mean, it's pretty stable there in San Antonio. You definitely want to see it better, but I think that's a good number so far. I don't know what the average is for your games you've had so far, but it's got to be good from judging. But the TV numbers, I mean, do you guys have any kind of outlook on that? Why you think that was kind of low this week?
It's probably because they were playing a 1-6 team. And
ding, 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 ding.
A lot of people were just not interested.
And 2 Texas teams too. So
Right.
if you're outside of Texas, you probably wouldn't be interested in this game either, unless you're a diehard fan. But it was a 1-6, and I think it was 2 Texas teams playing. I think that had a lot to do with it. But 545,000 average is still a lot better than what we saw from other games there. I still think it's very good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As long as it's above that 5 mark, I think it's a success. And personally, I don't know what makes these numbers valuable or not, but looking at some of the other sporting events like Major League Soccer or WNBA, I mean, we're keeping right up with that. And if those can maintain, we should be able to as well, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And if you look at it from a marketing perspective, you're talking about the Arlington 1-win team against the San Antonio team that really hasn't been given the proper respect, I feel, by the UFL. Right. If you want ratings, you're going to have to boost up every team, not just your breadwinners. If you want this matchup, this XFL conference matchup, to garner some ratings beyond what St. Louis brings, you've got to elevate the Brahmas and the Texas market as well.
Yeah, they've all got to be hyped up, and each place it's very different. It may be Texas, but people are different, the cultures are different. All those things impact, and if you can get that buy-in, you can bet there'd be some rivalry amongst the board, no matter where you're at in Texas. It's like high school football in Texas. I can't imagine because I don't know. I've only heard, but I understand it's real that way.
Oh yeah, I will be making several trips over 3 hours long on Friday nights this fall just to go watch my nephews play.
And I thought the attendance was The thing about San Antonio is, I remember on the first game of the season, it was on Easter Sunday, 11 o'clock during church, and I was thinking this is going to be a small crowd. It turned out to be 13,000. I was telling my friends, all right, this is your base number right here. We should not get below 13,000. And that so far has been the highest attended game for the rest of the season. But even with the numbers being lower than what I anticipated, uh, the crowd is just amazing. It makes it seem like there's so many more people in there. It's so much louder than just the 11, 12,000 at the beginning. And one of my friends, he brought over his brother to the game for the very first time. And he had an amazing time. He was really excited. But what he said kind of sums it up in a nutshell. What a lot of San Antonians are thinking. He asked, "Is the league going to be around next year? Because if they are, I want to get season tickets." And that seems to be the sentiment with a lot of us, because San Antonio has been. I mean, we've been snake bitten year after year with franchise after franchise that come and go, and the NFL constantly talks about moving a team here as a bargaining chip, and I think a lot of San Antonio are getting tired of it, so
Yeah.
they're just kind of waiting to see, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And yeah, he summed it up. He's like, if the league is going to be around, I'll buy in, and I think that's what we need. We just need that security and assurance that the league is going to be around, and you'll see the numbers increase significantly next year.
I agree. Trust
Yeah,
issues.
I think you're good because The Rock has a lot of affiliation in San Antonio. He talked about that in one of the press conferences. He has a lot of ties from his history growing up and wrestling. And the Brahmas, they draw well. They did even last year. They drew well. The championship game was there last year. I don't feel as if the Brahmas are in trouble at all. I think the team that I got the impression is in trouble was actually the Memphis Showboats. I could tell that Darryl Johnson was not happy and has not been happy. He's been saying it publicly about the attendance and connecting with the fans in Memphis. I would have to say they're probably more in peril than San Antonio. I think San Antonio is safe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and I've been saying, is Memphis, Houston, San Antonio. These are the teams, the cities that have been involved with these other leagues, and it's like, you coming back? You're not coming back? What's going on here? So they're a little gun shy, and I think that's a big problem in Memphis as well. Because they had a tremendous experience with the AAF up until, and keep in mind the Memphis market is starting from nothing. I believe they were a hub. Memphis was a host of a hub, were they not?
Right.
Last season, but they're essentially starting from scratch. Give it some time. Give it some time, guys.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude. The trust issues are there for people in Memphis, and I'm one of those as well. I'm not from Memphis, but I went to every AAF game that was there. Was a huge fan, and once that got stolen from me, it kind of leaves that bad taste in your mouth. And I totally understand where they're coming from. But I will say this, after doing the legwork and being in Memphis week 2, I was so excited for these games, of course. And we are visiting restaurants and going and looking at places and doing things, before the game. And there was very little community involvement that included in any of these places we went. I mean, these are like downtown type, bars, restaurants, shops. And this is where I feel like that's really where you could get a handhold on some fans. If you just go in there and do some community involvement, go have a night where you do a game night, pass out flyers. I mean, it's really simple. It doesn't sound simple, but in my opinion, it is. And because I didn't talk to a single soul there the whole time that knew what the hell the Showboats even were. They were just like, I was wearing my XFL gear. Nobody ever said anything to me. Nobody ever even looked my way. It's very different than going to a city like, hell, even Houston. I ran into fans in random places. That did not happen in Memphis. And I will speak volumes on that. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. It's the year 2 is going to be a little different because then we'll really see what these cities got, because if you can't trust it, I mean, it's hard to buy in. It's like a girl that burns you. I mean, if you go back to her, that's on you, man. That's not on her. If she's already burnt you once and you return, sorry, bro, but
well, now it's not the same girl. It's her cousin now. So.
Oh, they were just getting dirty, sir. But anyway, I feel you guys 100%. And I had a question from Rick 8-Bit. Where did it go, Rick? He said, how do you guys feel for the remaining 2 games looking huge? And by you guys, he's meaning, the San Antonio Brahmas.
I'll let RJ go first.
Well, it's quite simple. We win the rest of the games, and we get the number 1 seed. And I would love to have home field advantage in the title game. However, if we do have a little bit of leeway, it's going to go against a lot of people's beliefs. Like, for example, the Mariachi Brahma, he's going to hate this, but I think we all got to be Arlington Renegade fans this week. Because if they can beat the Sea Chickens, then we can afford to lose against the My Little Ponies and still turn around and have a chance to win the division. But simply, we just need to win out. We get the division title. Against Birmingham, I think this is going to be one of Birmingham's toughest tests. I know they did play the Pigeons earlier, and the Pigeons are, of course, a very tough team. But I think that they're going to have a real tough test against us in our stadium with our crowd, with our noise. Now we have McFarland back. They haven't had a running game that they have faced like we have. They haven't faced our type of system. I think we match up really, really well. And then, of course, against the Pigeons in the chicken coop is going to be a tough test as well, too. But we do match up very well against St. Louis. We played them tough every single time. We lost at the last second their first game last year, and then we were close. We almost beat them this year. I think we match up very well against these last 2 teams. I'm pretty comfortable. I'm pretty confident that we can pull it off.
What do you think, Mike?
Well, the reason why I let RJ go first is because I knew exactly what he was going to say, and it's how we as San Antonio fans feel. I mean, we see that opportunity there with St. Louis not having AJ this week, and then Birmingham, they might be like, you know what, we've got this wrapped up, we've got this sewn up, we got to prep for the next game, the playoff game that's coming up. Let's get some of our 2s some action, So it could be a game that they might possibly let slide. I mean, Coach Holtz obviously does a great job keeping those guys on the level, but how much do they really have to play for in week 10? And that's an opportunity for us to sneak that one in. And it's not outside the realm of possibilities that San Antonio is hosting the XFL championship game.
Yep. So in y'all's opinion, do you feel like, and answer honestly, feel free, that the Stallions are going to come in and bench some of their main starters this next week?
I don't think so. I think they're going to keep the pedal to the metal.
Keep trucking.
I mean, they want to be undefeated. I think that is, probably a very prideful team, and they can have boasting and bragging rights of being the first team in UFL history, the first team, and I think probably in modern spring football history at least, to be undefeated, and that they would love to have that bragging rights. And I don't think they're going to let off the gas, so they're going to be playing everybody against the Brahmas.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember the last 2 seasons. I did follow the USFL the previous 2 seasons, and they kind of were in the same situations. They did rest some players, but they started them and gradually worked them out. And I think that's what they'll do this week and the next week as well.
Makes sense. And even if it's Corral starting as quarterback, that's a very competent and good quarterback to play. And you got to kind of change your defense there a little bit for that, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to let up to the point of giving anybody any game. I think they want to keep the momentum. I think they don't want to stay complacent. They're going to try to win this game. and there's not going to be any gimmies. I think if the game gets comfortable, like you said, they probably will rest some of the guys, but I think they're going to come out there and try to win this game first and foremost because they're doing history. I mean, they haven't lost a game in over a year. I mean, that's just.
I think it's 15 straight is what they went on now.
I mean, that's just, you got to tip your hat. And they're a very, very good team. I didn't follow the USFL much because of the fact that I was covering the XFL. I didn't want there to be a conflict of interest. Now that they merged, that went out the window. But I got a chance to see the Birmingham Stallions, and they're the real deal. And not only that, if they win out, they'll be 3 times. That's a dynasty. Yeah, so I don't think they're going to rest anybody unless the game is out of hand.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I appreciate the opinions. Let me see if we got any more comments before we let you guys roll out. Oh, Rick 8-Bit. You can say Memphis has been burned from OG XFL and NFL with the Titans. Yeah, and I was looking up the numbers for the AF. I couldn't find anything too legitimate, but I found a website here. And we'll see. Let me see if I can pull it up. It's just the ads, man. The ads are so bad. Let's see right here. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
All right. So let's check it out. I mean, Memphis Express, 4 games, total 51,000. So that's quite a large number in terms of like, I don't know what we have total in Memphis right now, but I don't think it's that high. And it may be, but it's going to be iffy.
I think they might be averaging 6,000-7,000 a game.
Yeah, they're doing Guardian type numbers. They're not doing too hot.
Yeah.
That's my team that got axed. So if Darryl Johnson's saying that there's a problem, if I was in Memphis, I would start showing up because you want to make sure your team is back next year.
Yeah,
I think they're at peril much more than the Brahmas.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing too, is I agree with that. If we're looking at the attendance numbers and it's a valuable metric that they have to have a certain performance number on, then yeah. But I'm curious are we just worried about TV ratings? I mean, in terms of for next year, for a team next year. So that's kind of what my thought on is are these TV ratings good enough basically for these teams? So I wanted to look at the San Antonio Commanders though. And I mean, this was large number here. In 4 games, total 110,882.
Wow.
Equals 27,721 fans per game. That's 4 games. That is massive. I hope you guys
that if we can build some trust with this league, you're going to see those numbers again and soon.
I hope so, because it's much needed. And like you said though, that they got burnt, man, and people are just kind of not for it. That you can tell you guys really love your sports, because once that happened, it changed the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that the overall attendance for Memphis this season might not be able to top a single game in St. Louis. That's just crazy to think about.
I mean, that's a lot of teams, though, to be honest with you. If you look at the numbers, I mean, if it wasn't for St. Louis numbers, these averages would be way down.
Oh, yeah.
They keep this thing up. Chris Mason said Memphis needs advertising, and I hate advertising. Me too, Chris. I agree with you, man. Commercials and pop-ups and all, I totally get it. But there's a way to involve yourself advertising, and it's not to just go try to make money. It's to get in that community, make friends, make associates, network, partner here, give this there. I mean, it's
look at what they're doing in San Antonio with Horns Forward. They're doing everything on their own dime. They're traveling to all these games. They're huge with the tailgating. I don't know if you've ever been to RJ's probably seen one of the tailgates in San Antonio, but they take up the whole lot. They're out there having fun. Like I said, they invited the teams that were playing that week. It's about engagement. It has to come from the fans as well. It can't be just solely dependent on the league. You know, we've got to go out there and be more proactive and get the word out. I took my brother and my sister-in-law to the first game for any professional football, and they had a blast. And then while I was posting on Facebook, I had a cousin that I hadn't talked to in about 5 or 10 years. And she was posting a picture and she was sitting on the 20-yard line. I was like, I didn't even know you knew about the UFL. And she's excited. And, we're just continue to grow and get the word out. If you can add one more person, we can double the attendance. That's simple.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Add one more person. Yeah.
I think I do my part. I'm not doing nothing. I spend enough money on this, man. Excalibur. I don't know if you guys know Excalibur. I interviewed him last year when it was just an audio show. He's a great guy, but he's actually got a whole crew of it's his kids and I think friends of the kids. I'm not sure, but it's a whole crew of people dressed up in this old style,
definitely
knight armor, and it's cool, man. But yeah. Thou dost fill me with great mirth. We were making the dirty comments earlier. I think that's what we got him on. Excalibur, you keep doing your thing, man. Appreciate you. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it. I'll go ahead and let you go. I appreciate you as always. Do you have a show this week? I wanted to ask and blast it out. You did.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So chewing the cud with Mike here. Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Working on hopefully getting a very special guest for the show. We're still working on that, hoping to secure some details. But whether we have the guest or not, it's still going to be a great show. We'll be talking about the Brahmas game coming up against the Stallions, and we'll also be talking about the Gunslingers game against the Bay Area Panthers. So it's going to be a great show.
Sounds great, fellas. Appreciate you greatly. And is there anything else you want to say or mention before you roll out?
Keep supporting the UFL, man. Keep supporting. Find a way to support. Like he said, pick a team. If you're not with a team, grab onto a team. Just support the UFL because the players need it, the coaches need it, and the fans need the UFL to stick around.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I agree. I need the UFL to stick around. Appreciate you guys. Seriously. Until next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Horns forward.
Horns forward, baby.
Be good, fellas.
All right. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All righty. We made it through. Alan, we're on a long stretch tonight. I didn't plan on being this long, but look, we're about on the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, see, he was putting it out there, talking about the UFL, and time just flew. There you go.
It always does on this, and that's why I like it. We don't have to press the conversation. It's not a stuck out script. It's just conversation. And that's what's cool about people interacting live as well, getting those comments, that questions, and it really facilitates the conversation and gives us something to talk about. That's a value. So, yeah. So what we're going to do real quick, we're going to review the week 9 game matchups and times and where they're at this week. And then we'll roll out of here as well. We don't have to spend too long on this. Let's just quickly review it. But if you want to add some commentary, please do. No problem. So let's just get right into it if you're good with it. So Saturday, May 25th, the St. Louis Battlehawks take on the Arlington Renegades. This is the Renegades' last game at home. Starts at 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern, and it's on ABC. So the 2 games on Saturday are on ABC, which the next one will be the Birmingham Stallions at the San Antonio Brahmas. That game's at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and like I said, ABC as well. So double header right there on ABC. The Stallions game should come on right after the Battlehawks, wind up their game. Sunday, we have another regional matchup. So this is a Fox game, Sunday, May 26th. The DC Defenders take on the Memphis Showboats in Memphis. That game starts at 1:30 p.m. Central, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, it's on Fox and it's regional. You'll have to check your listings to see if it's in your area, guys at home. Don't just assume, because I know like in the Austin markets, some of these games have not been viewable until an hour after they start or longer. So make sure you have a way to watch it. My suggestion is use the Fox app, Fox Sports, and do that way. That's the better way to do it, in my opinion. The next game that comes on at the same time, Michigan Panthers at Houston Roughnecks. This is the Roughnecks' last game at home too, I believe. I didn't verify that, but I'm pretty sure it is. And like I said, it starts at 1:30 p.m. Central, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Another Fox regional game on Sunday. So the 2 games Sunday are on at the same time, 1:30 p.m. Central on Fox.
Yeah, so you gotta flip between the two. Get your app and get your station on. There you go.
Yep. Well, I'm curious to see what these numbers are in terms of TV ratings, averages, just because the fact that we had kind of a down week this last week. And we don't want to see this thing dip too low, but you can expect, week 10, it's probably going to dip down a little bit as well. Once these teams start, losing out, which they have, it's kind of a wrap for the fans as well. And I can't blame them. Now, if you're a true fan, you'll watch anyway, but I can't blame you if you're a little salty.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching because you know what? I know the Renegades are going to do what they do. They're going to play as if they're in playoff contention against the Battlehawks. The Battlehawks need to win. Same thing with the Stallions. The Stallions, I know the Brahmas are not going to let up the foot on them either. So it should be interesting to see. That's the great thing about this league is that people are not giving up. If I felt as if they were giving up, I probably would be like some of the fans. All right, no sense watching. But no, they're giving out their all. And it should be great to see because if somebody does lose any one of these games, like the playoff teams, it's going to change who's the home field advantage.
Yeah, and that's a big impact for a place like St. Louis. Your fans there at 30,000 are really an extra teammate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. Which one of these matchups are you most excited for personally?
I'm curious to see. I agree with RJ. I am curious to see what the what the Brahmas do against the Stallions because I do feel as if the way those two teams are, it's going to be interesting to see because the Brahmas do have a solid running game. They're a smart team. Not that the Stallions aren't, but it'll be a real challenge for the Stallions to win that game. And on the other side with the Renegades, I'm curious to see because they played each other before if the Renegades surprise the Battlehawks and win this game.
Yeah. I agree with both of those. And I know just from watching the Stallions, they can be beat and they do make mistakes. But if you don't capitalize on those mistakes and then not make mistakes as well, you can't beat them. There's no way. It's capitalizing on the mistakes that they make and doing 100% best effort to beat that team. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. I definitely think if the Brahmas don't win this game, the Battlehawks have to have home field advantage to really give the leverage to beat them in the championship game. They need to have that home field advantage.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to make a big difference. We kind of saw how they played each other back a couple weeks ago. Imagine when you can't hear yourself think or talk.
Oh yeah. That's a game changer. 40,000 people. I expect it to be sold out, packed house, the biggest attendance, and you have that to contend with. No team has dealt with that throughout the whole year. Even there's a big difference between 32 or 33,000 versus a packed house. Yeah. So it makes a difference, a huge difference.
For sure. I know they've already started selling tickets for that championship game, regardless of who's in attendance. So guys at home, I'm not sure if they're sold out like currently or what. I don't know if they're still open. I haven't checked personally. I just know they are for sale. So if you are interested in getting those tickets, you better get them soon if you want the seat you want. Otherwise, you kind of just have to take what you get. The prices on the tickets weren't bad. I think you're looking at, with fees, 2 tickets will probably cost you $100 total, maybe a little over. So it's not too bad, especially compared to an NFL game. But what I'm hearing a lot of complaints about these tickets is the fees, man. The people are going and getting tickets for $35 a piece, and then the fees are $35 plus taxes. So I don't know. Just want to mention that while we're
that's unfortunate, and that really has nothing to do with the actual tickets of the game. It's just the app. They need to get their money, and I know what you're saying. I saw some tickets for the Rage. I was like, hey, these are pretty good seats for $25. With the fees and everything, it was well over $50 by the time I cashed out.
It is what it is, but
It is what it is.
Got to mention it while we're on the subject. I'm excited, not excited, but I want to see how the Roughnecks perform against the Panthers coming up this week. The Roughnecks need a win to shut up the complainers, to get things right and give people some confidence in that team. And I know with the Panthers, I mean, that's a solid squad all the way around.
Oh,
so
yeah. Jake Bates. They're very, and the thing about the Panthers, I felt as if they're one of the teams that got better, just like the Brahmas. They got better and better as the season went along. So the Panthers are not going to be an easy out for the Stallions either. This is really going to be interesting to see who ends up hosting that trophy because, yes, teams are doing well, but the Panthers are doing solid too. Especially if you have to, it's a close game. You got Jake Bates in your on your squad. It come down to a kick. You just never know.
Yeah, agreed. And he missed one last week. I saw.
He did. And he would have missed one against the Arlington Renegades had they not have 12 men on the field.
Man, those Renegades, dude, shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, you can't shoot yourself in the foot. And he coincidentally missed a kick, but they had 12 men on the field, and then he re-kicked it and made it.
XFLMike G said only one sideline on the upper level was open for sale, but it's filling fast. They should open more sections up.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it is filling fast. And what I saw when I priced the tickets, if you wanted like the 50-yard line, they were like $350 a ticket, not including fees. So that was a few days ago. I'm sure it went up. I'm telling you, that game's going to be a sellout game. I said it before the season even started.
Agreed.
That's going to be a sellout game.
Well, they should have had it there last year, in my opinion. I love San Antonio, but if you wanted to see butts and seats, that's the place to do it, man. And either way it goes, hopefully I'll get that approval as well. Are you going to be aiming to go to that game also?
I am definitely looking forward to going to the championship game. You know, that is something that it's going to be experience because I've never been to St. Louis before. That championship game with the XFL was just outstanding. It was just that was, and I want the audience to know I've covered other sports. I've been to the Daytona 500. There's nothing like that experience where you're on the field, confetti is falling on you, you're right across from the rock, and the whole team is just magnificent. So yes, I am definitely interested in going to the UFL championship game in St. Louis.
Yeah, same as well, man. So hopefully we'll catch up then. You know, it'll be a good time either way. And this show's been great. I appreciate you, Alan, man. It's been good conversation as always. Y'all check Alan out, Alan Alford Sports Talk Show. He's in the AFN family. We have a show on our website. So, Alan, do me a favor, tag me in some stuff, man. I'll reshare your stuff. It's just that it kind of falls through the cracks with as many things that come on my phone. I mean, I wish I could show you.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd love to share some of your content and kind of view it more because you do great work, dude. And I know beginning of the season, we were kind of wondering what was going on. And now that we're on our system, it's time to roll.
It's time to roll. That's right. We'll do so.
Yeah, man, it's been great. I appreciate you greatly.
I appreciate you too. I appreciate you having me on your show. It's been awesome. Appreciate the guys too. And that's been on the show. Mike, RJ. It's fantastic, man. I thank you for having me. It's been a real honor.
Hey, anytime, Alan. You just let me know. XFLMike G said, thank you for coming on Alan Alford Sports Talk Show. I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh, same here, Mike G. Keep up the great work. Keep coming out to the games. That's awesome. I'm sorry I missed you. That was purely an accident. That was not done on purpose. And believe me and you, I was just upset, even more so. Sometimes God puts you connected with people in the right place at the right time. A total stranger talked me out of not turning around and going back home.
Mark Nelson said, thank you, Alan. Great show.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mark. Yeah, keep up the great work that you're doing for UFL board. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Anything else, Alan, you want to mention or talk about before we roll out of here?
The only other thing is I hope that Luis Perez gets to meet Tom Brady. He definitely deserves it. He wears number 12 because he looks up to Tom Brady. Tom Brady showed up at that Michigan game. He was just in the wrong state. But the fact that he showed up to UFL game, I feel as if it's going to happen.
I mean, from that, I wonder who we will see at that championship game.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see some people.
Last
Absolutely.
year, we really didn't have anybody too famous. I feel like there was a few people, but
Yeah.
mostly it was The Rock and Danny for the most part. But
Which I was surprised. The Rock knows people. I mean, get Kevin Hart there. Get get some of your from Jumanji. Get some of your actress and actors fans to come out. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be somebody that's from the NFL. Don't get me wrong. He had Deion Sanders show up the first game. He had Troy Aikman, and of course, if Tom Brady, it could be sports, but it also could be somebody not sport related, just so you get more interest, so to speak. You have fans, you have friends.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's all the better, and it will keep the crowd away from you as well when you walk in that field.
Exactly. There you go.
I appreciate you, Alan, dude. If you need anything, reach out, guys. Check his workout. I've had his stuff rolling at the bottom, and then everything will be in the notes so you can click it easily and get to it. So I'll have that up probably late tonight or early morning tomorrow. So appreciate you, Alan, man. It's great as always.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Until next time, my friend.
You got it.
Oh, I cut him off. Well, sorry, Alan.
No problem. I'm looking forward to it. All right.
Yes, sir. We'll see you, my friend. Bye-bye. All right. So we're wrapping it up. Appreciate you watching if you watched tonight. I've been feeling a little under the weather, so it was actually a really good show. Great guest, Alan. Great work he does. Check him out. He's very involved in what he does. If he's doing something, you can bet he's doing it to the best of his ability, and it looks good. So very professional as well. That's one thing that really shined from my outside view of watching him is the professionalism. It's just on point, man. So keep doing your thing, Alan. As far as AFN, follow the guys. I'll have all their links up that were on tonight. Check out the website. Give us a like, share, and follow. Show some support. We're doing this for the passion, for the love. We don't get paid. We don't have 10,000 ads on our stuff. We don't have a bunch of money coming in. This is just all for the love. So appreciate you if you did watch or commented or shared, whatever. Thank you very much. I want to say thanks to UFL Board and the UFL. Always a pleasure, UFL. Thank you for letting me cover the league. And then UFL Board, Mark Nelson and crew, always a great bunch. I've shared their stuff on our website as well. We kind of cooperate and share works. I have not updated the website from this week yet just because I've been so busy on my end. I should have that done tonight. But check out UFLboard.com. Always great stuff from them and factual, non-opinionated as well. That's what I really enjoy about it. It's not the speculative, where are we expanding in 2 years? So anyway, appreciate you so much for watching, supporting, liking. Thank you for supporting the league as well. Always a pleasure. Until next time, which will be next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Don't have a guest lined up yet, but I'm sure we'll get one. No worries either way. Us, as in the guys and myself, will break down the games and talk about them again. Woo! I'm ready to get off here. Appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, I'm Matthew Tyler. Have a good night.
Go hard, go home, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home. Touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home.